up, everyone? Tyler here, and it is time for my two favorite words in the world: postseason basketball. I am so excited to get into these matchups. Like everything about the playoffs this year excites me. I think last year in the WNBA there felt a little bit of inevitability at times where we just kind of felt like it was always going to be the Liberty and the Aces in the finals last year, and that's what ended up happening. But this year there's plenty of variants that I feel like could go down, and I just wanted to kind of give my initial thoughts on all of these four first round matchups. They all tip off on Sunday. I'm excited, and so we're just gonna go in order here. And first off, Atlanta and New York. This is an interesting matchup to me. And the reason I say this is because Atlanta, on paper, should be much better than they are. But we're in the postseason now. If you were going to play your best basketball, it needed to be happening. And they have nearly accidentally found themselves in the 8th seed. It felt like it's been such a struggle for this Atlanta Dream team at times, and especially finishing games has been the biggest thing that has stood out to me, of just an inability to do so at times. But when you look on paper, like, Tina Charles has been fantastic in her comeback season. Obviously Ryan Howard and Alicia Gray are very, very, very good wings. You have Jordan Canada, a very good starting point guard. Like, there is talent on this team, and talent that can get at you on the defensive end, on the perimeter. Which, since returning from Olympic break, and more so, there was a neck injury for Sabrina a couple games into the returning from Olympic break, and she just hasn't really been shooting the ball very well since coming back from that. So if you add in the defensive pressure that comes with, the Atlanta Dream at times, or the potential for that at least, this series could get interesting. But Atlanta is the 8th seed for a reason. And it's because while there is that potential for this talented, on paper team to live up to, they have not done that. And so ultimately, I don't see New York. I would be shocked if New York loses this series, because even though there might be perimeter pressure, you still got Breanna Stewart. And even Jonquel Jones down there. And the Liberty still make me nervous because I still don't feel like they have kind of like that go-to when all else fails, when the three-point isn't falling. Like, they don't have a strategy. They have the talent, but they don't have a strategy for kind of bouncing back when there's struggles at times. I think, and that's been my biggest worry. It still is, because I think at times you just gotta give the ball to Stewie and get out the way, and I don't feel like they do that very often. But Stewie has been really solid in these past couple of games. So if she can keep that up, Stewie on any day, even though A'ja Wilson is the best player on a day-to-day basis, on any day, Stewie can be the best and can play at that level. So I'm confident in New York winning this series. I think, I certainly think games have a potential to be close, but ultimately, I just don't trust Atlanta. I haven't trusted Atlanta. I've been disappointed with Atlanta this season. So I'm not too worried about that. For the next series, the 2nd seed Minnesota going against Phoenix. Minnesota, to me, is the title favorites right now. When you talk about having that foundation to lean back on when things go wrong, the Lynx have several ways to do so. A'ja Wilson is my MVP if I had a vote, but Napheesa Collier is having an MVP caliber season. She just happens to be doing it in the same season that A'ja Wilson is having hers. I think Napheesa Collier is Defensive Player of the Year, and the Lynx probably have, I think they lead the league in opposing field goal percentage. A very, very strong argument, and I would make the argument that they're the best defense in the league. So even if the shots aren't falling, they're likely stopping you on the other end. Incredible ball movement, incredible 3-point shooting. Like, they have everything, and it's not based on star power like we see with some of the other teams, like in New York. It is not star power. It is pieces that, frankly, coming into this season, weren't expected to fit together super well. There was certainly some question marks around this, but every single player on this roster has leveled up. whether it be just being in a new situation, development over time. Bridget Carleton is a most improved player candidate, has a very strong case. Like, this is an incredible, incredible team that, for my money's worth, will sweep Phoenix, because Phoenix has been struggling in the back half of this season at times. It's just an inability to shoot the ball occasionally, and it's been pretty rough. I would be pretty shocked if Minnesota drops a game, let alone loses the series. So I'm rolling Minnesota here, but a very exciting one. And another one that is going to be probably breaking records, frankly, with viewership, is the 3 seed Connecticut playing the Indiana Fever. I think this is the one where everyone expects the possibility of an upset, and I absolutely agree. I think that it's certainly possible. I think the way that Caitlin and Kelsey Mitchell have been playing since the Olympic break has been insane. And frankly, I'll be interested in seeing the minutes from Marina Mabrey, because she's not the best defensive guard, and when you have those two on the court at the same time, you can kind of just go to the one that's not being guarded by DeJounte Carrington. So that's where I'm interested in seeing how Ty Harris minutes potentially come into play with that. A better defensive guard in my eyes than Marina Mabrey. I'll be very interested in seeing that. Aaliyah Boston is very, very good. And Lexi Hull also has just completely turned around. I don't know if say turn around her career. But I think people have been wanting to see more Lexi early on in this season. And when she did get in, the 3-point shooting was not it. But man, she came back from Olympic break with a flamethrower attached to her shoulders. The shot has been insane at just a ridiculous clip that she's hitting at. And she is the exact type of glue player that fits so perfectly as the 3 next to Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark. Again, it could not function more perfectly. And then Alyssa Smith is just always producing energy. I've liked Erica Wheeler's minutes as well recently off the bench. Like, the Indiana Fever, outside of the Minnesota Lynx, have been the hottest team for my money's worth since the Olympic break. And they are coming in now against this number 3 seed, Connecticut Sun, and I'll be interested in seeing how home court advantage works. Because frankly, the Connecticut Sun don't always have great home court advantage, and then you add the Caitlin Clark effect. So these home games, I'll be very intrigued to see. I don't know, but I'd be very interested in seeing how that ends up working for these games and see how the crowd kind of splits up. But on the Connecticut side, like, to me, in my eyes, this is the best chance that they've had, even though the record isn't the best they've had since having AT and DB, and especially since trading Jonquel last season. Like, this is the best, for on paper for me, the best team that they've had, just because the flexibility that Marina Mabrey can bring on the offensive side of the ball. And so I absolutely, I would not be shocked at all. Like, they're the number 3 seed for a reason. Indiana's been incredibly hot. I think they have the best chance for an upset across these first round matchups. But if Connecticut wins, it's not a surprise. Alyssa Thomas is still, like, flirting with a triple-double nearly every game. DeWanna Bonner can rack up points, and I'll be very interested in seeing the defensive strategy for the Fever against DeWanna Bonner, just the way that she can stretch the floor. And then also Bree Jones is someone that can body up and stay physical with Aaliyah Boston. So I'll be very interested in that sense, just to see how this series goes. But there's a lot of question marks and a lot of possibilities, and this was the one, if I was to pick an upset, I'd be picking the Fever if I was to pick an upset from any series. Last but not least, the 4-5 matchup, Seattle, the 5 seed, Vegas, the 4 seed. I have been critical of the Aces this season, and I think rightfully so, because I think that they have been critical on themselves, rightfully so. The defense has looked rough at times. The production outside of Asia Wilson has looked rough at times, but they are still the 2-time defending champions. And they still have the best player in the world, Asia Wilson. And I think that can go a long, long way, obviously. And I think, especially when you look back at these past 2 Fever games, that felt like the most locked in and playoff ready that the Aces have been this entire season. And that's what I've been waiting to see, is you can't count this team out because of the history that they have in the playoffs. And if they get in that playoff mode, they're as dangerous as anybody in the entire league. But we have to see that. And I think we got a glimpse of that, and that makes me more confident than ever to pick them over the Storm. But I will say the Storm, while inconsistent at times, Skylar Diggins-Smith has turned it up since the Olympic break. Neko Ogumike has one of the most underrated cases for All-WNBA teams, I feel like, in the entire league. We're starting to kind of see some votes roll out and everything, and I just haven't seen much Nneka, which makes no sense to me at all. I think she's phenomenal and has been phenomenal this season. So that's kind of like that foundational piece where I think Asia's going to be Asia. I think a lot of times Nneka's going to be Nneka. I'll be interested in seeing the guard play surrounding them. And I think that has a very high chance of surrounding this series. And I've been saying it, and I think that they still should, that Seattle, when things go wrong, they need to be going inside to Nneka. And we'll see if Asia Wilson is the one guarding her in this series. Obviously, Ezi Magbagor has been out the past couple games. I believe that she'll be ready by the time Sunday comes, but not official on that. So this series, I'd give it a 55% chance that Vegas wins. But that's about as far as I'm willing to go. Because it's a 4-5 series for a reason. These are always the tightest. But man, it's going to be fun. I can't wait. Playoff basketball is here. Those are just kind of my rapid reactions, rapid thoughts to these matchups. But I'll certainly be back next week as we conclude this first round, get to talk about it, see how it all went down. I'll see you next time. And let me know also who you got upsetting in the first round. Who would be your pick? I'll see you next time.